Welcome back, Commander.
Yes, sir.
Today's mission sees Nod having 2 commandos, which I guess throws out my theory of the whole plural and singular thing in the manual out of whack.
Yes, sir. I'm on the left. Yes, sir.
Or maybe there's 2 commandos that defected to Nod.
I'm on it. No,
It's not really important.
yes, sir. No left-handed. Yo, real tough guy.
So the idea of this mission is that there's a Nod outpost that GDI puts under quarantine, and we'll see exactly what I mean later on. But we have to go rescue the base.
Yes, sir. No problem. Yeah, no problem. Yes, sir. No problem.
The setup is kind of like GDI's 7th mission, where you start off with a commando that's being attacked like almost immediately. Not quite as tough though, and the fact that you have 2 commandos makes it a lot easier. Now, it's important that you don't use your engineer to capture one of the comm centers, just because there's no point to them. As far as I know, those comms don't control airstrikes. I'll have to look into the map dissection at some point anyways, but I'm pretty sure they don't. They're just there. They're valuable in the sense that if you capture them and sell them, they're worth, I think, $1,000, but otherwise, nothing special. So once you get to a designated location, the civilian drops a flare, lets you know that here's the base, and then you can go about your merry way. Now, technically, you could just sit here forever, and, I mean, you wouldn't lose, but you probably wouldn't win. Actually, you definitely wouldn't win. But you actually have to, kill the GDI, so you gotta get rid of their nice little perfect watchtower wall. And for anybody who still disagrees that GDI murders innocent people, once again, GDI is caught with their pants down, attacking just innocent, honest people, just trying to live their life. There's also a couple of strange interactions that we're going to see. For instance, we saw a Humvee that was being attacked. It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand what makes the AI want to shoot at it. I believe we'll see this happen like 2 or 3 more times. And it's not like the Humvee isn't defending itself. Like, it's not just like a blue-on-blue accident. It's legitimately, like, this Humvee is being targeted by everybody. So, my only question ends up being, why? Is it because the developers, or maybe, like, the patch kind of glitches, and the unit was supposed to be given to Nod, but then wasn't? It's hard for me to try and decode this. I have a feeling like that those units, like the Humvee, was supposed to be a Nod buggy or something. Mainly because, one, GDI throws a helicopter full of guys at you almost as soon as you get control of the full base, quote unquote. And on top of that, you don't really have anything to help you break out of the wall. Sure, you've got 2 commandos and you have an Apache, but the Apache isn't altogether too good against watchtowers. And on top of that, we already know commandos suck against towers. Oh, and I mean, they repair the towers anyways, so, you know, it doesn't really help. Theoretically, it could throw either the Chinook or the Harvester towards the turrets, or the towers, but, I mean, why have your Harvester take any damage if you don't need it to? And a Chinook is just, like, laughably weak. So I'd rather not risk that unit in, you know, just to lose it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So my quote-unquote master plan is get the commandos to not move in front of the tank, and then have them just destroy the watchtowers. Fairly simple.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you have to be careful, one, with any infantry that pop out of towers, but two, and more importantly, is that you don't want them just bum rushing the opening. Thankfully, if you don't lose any commandos, it kind of ends up being a little easy to clean up that part.
Yes, sir. I'm on it.
But, I mean, let's not fool ourselves. They're going to be building and bringing tanks, so...
Waiting orders.
Yeah, something killed the civilian. I don't know. I guess the towers just got tired of him?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
On hold. Cancel. Building.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's gonna take us a while, but I think, if I remember correctly, the fact that we have an Apache now is gonna be a little weird.
Yes, sir. I'm on it. Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, moving out. Yes, sir. You got it. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, moving out.
Our base is under attack. Construction complete.
So yeah, GDI once again gets the ion cannon. It's
Building.
not really unexpected these days, and at least it's better than a random nuke out of nowhere. It took me a little bit to realize he was going to shoot at the Chinook, which was kind of annoying because I really don't want to lose it.
Building. Construction complete.
Sadly, with such a small amount of HP remaining, I can't really do anything with it.
Construction complete. Building. Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Yo. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Waiting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, acknowledged. Yes, sir.
So it doesn't really look like we have many options in terms of getting income.
Building.
So you kind of, again, have to just be frugal with how you want to proceed. In my case, that just means build up a hell of a lot of defenses and hope for the best. Seriously, what is up with GDI killing innocent civilians?
Yes, sir.
Healing ready.
Acknowledged. Moving out.
Construction complete.
So it might seem a little strange to build a Chinook and get some engineers, but the simple fact is that I need money, and my income's going to dry up rather soonish, so I might as well do something in order to get some funds that are available on the map.
Come on! Affirmative. Moving out. Yes. Ready and waiting. Moving out. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
GDI building. Captured. base is under attack.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay.
Construction complete.
Reporting. Moving out. Affirmative.
Building.
Yo, yeah.
Unit lost.
Yeah.
Unit
You
ready.
got it. Reporting.
Alright, so it's not a particularly good return on investment for the
Yeah.
comm center.
Building.
Reporting.
But maybe it'll do something? I mean, probably not, but
Yeah, you yes.
when in Rome, I guess.
Unit lost.
Come on. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm on it.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Okay. Okay.
I was kind of hoping that there'd be something to let me,
Hold. Cancel.
like, get into the enemy base. And then maybe use the commandos that way, but
Waiting orders. Yes.
again, this is one of those things where
Unit
maybe if the Chinook had more HP, or maybe if I could do something else with it, I'd be successful in that. Also, it's pretty interesting, well, I guess not really interesting, but,
building.
Yes, sir.
I mean, good job on my part sending 2 units directly into a blossom tree.
Yes, moving out. Affirmative. Reporting. Moving out. Reporting. You got it. Yes, Roger. Right away, sir. Reporting. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Moving out. Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Alright, so all is not lost. We've got at least one Tiberium field nearby.
Roger.
Now, the blossom tree to the top right's not going to do anything.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Moving out. Reporting. Affirmative. Moving out. Got it. You got it. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Moving out. Ready and waiting. Got it. Yes, sir. Awaiting order. Yes, sir. You got it. Acknowledged. Moving out.
Yeah. Come on.
All things said and done, I don't particularly hate this map. I didn't really find the previous one was interesting at all,
Building.
but at least this one, I don't know, it feels like there's a bit more of a challenge to it.
On.
The opening was certainly nice, at least better than the last one.
Acknowledged. Moving out. Reporting. Moving out. Moving out.
I know some people have mentioned that the levels feel like they're for experts only, and they've got a unpolished feel to them. And I can certainly see where people would be coming at with that.
Cannot deploy here. Cannot deploy here.
It really does feel like in later games they stepped up how they do these things to a much higher degree.
Lost.
Moving out.
And just like that, I lose both my commandos.
Roger. Yes, sir. Moving out.
Lost.
Got it. Yes, sir. Moving out.
On hold.
Moving out.
Cancel.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Got it.
Unit lost. Building. On hold. Cancel. Building.
And for whatever reason, the AI is like really got a hard on for attacking my Chinook. And you might be thinking, wow, that's a really weird outcropping to have at the bottom of the base where there's a tree and there's a small path that leads towards a construction yard. And this is why. It's a... I mean, There's no buts about it. It's a dick move to do that sort of thing.
Yes, affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
But hey, on the plus side, the AI is
On hold.
really stuck on attacking any sort of air units. I guess they have like priority
Yes, sir.
with the AI, but I don't really understand why.
Construction complete.
The fact that GDI doesn't have as much in terms of shooting down my air units at the moment. You know, there's the MRLS and there's Mammoth tanks and rocket soldiers every so often, but it really does help when you can just distract them and just take them on the other side of the map.
Acknowledge.
Construction complete.
Unit deployed.
I don't think it's a bug, but I think it's kind of weird that the Apache, whenever I seem to be using it, has a hard time with like changing targets. It always feels like I have to give an order 2 or 3 times before it decides to finally do it.
Our base is under attack. Construction complete.
Yes, yes, sir.
Building.
Yes, sir. You got it. Moving out.
Now, under normal circumstances, I'd just put an obelisk of light and be done with it. But, I mean, considering we've seen the ion cannon being used like, at least 3 times now, I think. I don't want to say it's on a higher recharge time, or lower recharge time, I guess, than normal.
Ready and wait, sir.
But it does seem to shoot rather quickly, and especially compared to like my income rate. So I'm just gonna keep building turrets because I'd rather lose a $600 or $700 investment than twice that.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
And considering what's being sent at me, it's not that big a deal either way.
Building. Construction complete. Building. On hold. Cancelled. Building.
Yeah. Roger. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. You got it.
Construction complete. Building.
Now, easiest way to get rid of the engineer threat, bottom left, obviously just build a couple walls.
Construction complete.
I don't believe that the helicopters ever have anything but engineers. So even if they wanted to shoot at them and then move past them, they can't.
Okay. Reporting. You got it. Moving out.
Unit lost.
Moving out. Yes, sir.
It's also a really good thing that I had my civilian go first and I lost him.
Reporting.
Unit lost. Construction complete.
Because it seems that there's infantry to the left, which, I don't know, seems like a random position.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have
Yes,
arrived.
sir. Affirmative.
Well, time to go scouting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Moving out. Acknowledge. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Got it.
On hold.
It seems that when there's no, like, obelisk of light, the AI kind of switches its targets every so often.
Acknowledge.
Oh hey, look, another communication center.
Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Building.
Reporting.
I'm not sure what's going to be more annoying. The fact that there's a bunch of random communication centers, like, strewn throughout the map, or that when I look into this map, it's going to turn out that if you capture like all 4 or 5 comm centers, you get airstrikes.
Ready and waiting. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Getting back to the whole ion cannon targeting thing, it seems if there's not like one specific target, it'll kind of rotate what it wants to damage, and more often than not, it'll be refineries.
Affirmative.
Now, we've already seen that the AI will choose an airstrip once in a while, but I'm not quite sure what dictates which one it will choose.
Affirmative. Moving out. Yes, sir. Ready. Roger. Waiting. Affirmative. Yes, Roger. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative. Moving out. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Now, this is, I guess, kind of how you can abuse AI. I know it's going to keep targeting the turret,
Reporting.
but a well-placed flamethrower that just runs faster than it can easily help in its demise.
Moving out.
Building.
Awaiting. Moving out. Yes, you got it. Moving out. Moving out. Roger. Moving out.
I should mention that, much like the single-player campaign for Nod in the original game, every time you build a Temple of Nod, or at least, I shouldn't say every time, but anytime you build a Temple of Nod, you are given 1 nuclear strike. However, there's a maximum of 1 that you can have on any scenario. So, because the Temple of Nod doesn't really unlock anything, it gives you MCVs, but honestly, like $5,000, I can use that in a much better fashion. So, you get a nuclear strike. And since we've already seen that nukes can take out construction yards, kinda stands that, you know, if you can get a stealth tank, use it to do something, scout the map, and then as soon as you find the enemy base, nuke the construction yard and you're good to go. The one issue with being able to use your stealth tank that way is that because the AI absolutely, like the map designer put a bunch of watchtowers, it's hard to ever sneak a stealth tank in anywhere because watchtowers or guard towers will spot, whereas, you know, advanced guard towers won't. And because there's so many of them, it just stands to reason that it's going to be hard to sneak anybody in. The AI also has a lot of infantry that it likes to just like have standing anywhere, so it's an extra like hazard for anything you send out to scout. So this is pretty much like my standard use of a nuke. It takes several tries because I'm always trying to find like where something is and so on. And at a certain point I just get like really annoyed, so I just nuke an entrance after I've saved, of course. Use a stealth tank to get in and then figure out what the hell they have. It's cheap, but I mean, at least I'm doing this while playing the game and not just going into the map editor and doing it that way. I don't know. I'm just not particularly a fan of like bases with 18 layers of defenses and then like you've only got a nuke anyways, so might as well use it on their ability to produce more. Now, if I had still had a Chinook, my response to this whole thing would have been to load up a Chinook with, say, 3 or 4 engineers, maybe 2 if I didn't have the cash for it or something. Get about 4 or 5 light tanks and a couple flame tanks. Send the vehicles in first, have them just tank anything that the towers actually do. Slip in the Chinook, and then drop off engineers and capture buildings. Sadly, there's only so much I can do. It's also interesting to point out that there's a hell of a lot of blossom trees on this map. There's probably somewhere around like 15, high end 20, but I feel like it doesn't reach that point. Regardless, there's a ton of blossom trees, and yet you can see that even with a decent economy, like I've got 3 refineries, and the AI has, I believe, 2. You can just see, like, Tiberium will dry up no matter what you do. So, you know, sometimes sometimes it just feels like you're always on a timer, whether or not that's an actual like win-lose timer. It's more on like your economy. I mean, the same applies for the AI, but someone, I forget the post's name, I'm sorry, but somebody pointed out how the AI does get some free resources for what it does and gets. So obviously, while the AI is distracted, I'm just gonna, you know, capture a building, sandbag it, and then destroy from within. Oh, I should also point out that the AI actually cheats. Not only does it cheat in a money sense, it knows certain things before it quote-unquote should. On top of all that, it can use an ion cannon regardless of how much power it has. So, that's not cool. I guess technically I messed up here because I should have taken out that power plant first, but whatever. At this point, we're just on cleanup. Until I learn that the map won't end after this. Like, there's 1 medium tank left, which if you can mash X like enough, you can kind of sort of get away with a lot of damage that you probably shouldn't on certain vehicles. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will know that there's something else on the map here, but I didn't. So, I'm pretty happy, like, oh, finally got this mission done. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Mission accomplished?
Yes, sir.
Eva? Mission accomplished? What am I missing here? Oh, I didn't see him twice. Now I'm just checking, like, behind every tree, because I figure, like, oh, maybe the AI, like, maybe the developers snuck, like, a rocket soldier behind something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, they say hindsight's 20/20. Making me feel like a dingus right now. Like, did I miss a tower somewhere? Like, where could somebody possibly be hiding?
Yes, sir.
And of course, I check everywhere on the map but my base first.
Moving out.
Because, like, if it was in my base, I'd know about it, right? I'd have something shooting at it, or I'd get some message. I gotta get a stealth tank. Like, maybe I can't see it, or what's going on here? Come on, Frank, tell me your secrets. Ah, son of a bitch. 3 engineers. And one of my turrets, I'm sure, should be able to hit it, but isn't doing anything. The worst, too, is that I build an artillery because I wanted to actually... And somehow game just, like, screwed me over on my primary preference. And because I lost the Apache, I don't have anything that can just like quickly go there and kill them.